Billionaire left a 0 tip. What the single mom waitress found under his plate changed everything. The morning sun filtered through the Venetian blinds of Miller's diner, casting long stripes across the black and white checkered floor. Sarah Bennett wiped down the counter for what felt like the 100th time that morning, her blue apron showing the wear of countless shifts. At 32, she'd learned that keeping her hands busy helped quiet the worry that had become her constant companion. Her daughter Emma, just 3 years old, sat in the corner booth with her coloring book, blonde hair falling across her face as she concentrated on staying inside the lines. Sarah had brought her to work again today. The babysitter had cancelled, and there was no one else to call. There hadn't been anyone else for 2 years now. Not since Emma's father had decided that fatherhood wasn't the adventure he'd signed up for. "More coffee, hun?" Sarah asked Mrs. Patterson, who came in every Tuesday and Thursday like clockwork. "Just a warm-up, dear," the elderly woman said, patting Sarah's hand. "How's that little angel of yours?" "She's perfect," Sarah said, meaning it. Emma was the reason she got up at 5 in the morning. The reason she smiled through aching feet and customers who forgot to say thank you. She's always perfect. The breakfast rush had been steady but manageable. By 10:30, the diner had settled into its mid-morning lull. That's when the black town car pulled up outside, so sleek and out of place on their small-town street that it might as well have been a spaceship. Sarah was refilling the sugar dispensers when the door opened. The man who walked in was perhaps in his early 60s, with silver hair and the kind of charcoal suit that probably cost more than Sarah made in 3 months. He moved with the careful authority of someone used to people stepping aside, but his face looked tired, etched with lines that spoke of more than just age. "Good morning," Sarah said, grabbing a menu. "Sit anywhere you'd like." The man paused, scanning the empty diner, then chose the counter. He sat down slowly like his bones hurt and set a leather briefcase beside him. "Coffee?" Sarah asked. "Please." His voice was quiet, almost hoarse. She poured him a cup and set it down gently. "Take your time with the menu. No rush here." He looked up at her, then really looked, and Sarah saw something in his eyes she recognized, a deep, bone-tired sadness that no amount of sleep could fix. "Thank you," he said. From the corner booth, Emma had noticed the stranger. She climbed down and walked over, clutching her red crayon. "Hi," she said, with the fearless friendliness of a 3-year-old. "Emma, honey, let the man have his breakfast," Sarah said quickly, but the man's expression had softened. "Hello there," he said. "That's a nice crayon you have." "It's red," Emma informed him seriously. "My favorite." "Red is a very good choice," he agreed. Sarah gently guided 5 Emma back to her booth. "I'm sorry about that. She's usually at daycare," but she stopped herself. He didn't need to hear about her problems. "Don't apologize," the man said. "She's lovely. You're fortunate." There was something in the way he said it that made Sarah pause. She'd heard people say she was fortunate before, usually right before reminding her how much harder it must be without a husband. But this man said it like he meant something different, something that came from experience. "What can I get you?" she asked. "What do you recommend?" Sarah smiled. "Well, our cook Pete makes the best apple pie in 3 counties. But if you're looking for breakfast, the pancakes are pretty special. He makes them from his grandmother's recipe." "Pancakes, then," the man said. "And maybe, does your daughter like pancakes?" Sarah's hand froze on her order pad. "Oh, no, sir, that's not necessary." "Please," he said quietly. "It would make me happy." There was no pity in his voice, no condescension. Just a simple request. Sarah found herself nodding. The man ate slowly, methodically, barely looking up from his plate. Sarah refilled his coffee twice. Emma enjoyed her pancakes in the corner, getting syrup on her chin and humming a tuneless song. The morning stretched on, peaceful and ordinary. Other customers came and went. Sarah took orders, delivered food, cleared tables. The man in the suit sat at the counter for over an hour, nursing his coffee, occasionally glancing at Emma with an expression Sarah couldn't quite read. Finally, he stood, straightening his jacket. He pulled out his wallet and placed several bills on the counter beside his plate. "Thank you for the meal," he said. "And for your kindness." "Of course," Sarah said. "You have a good day now." He nodded, picked up his briefcase and walked out. The town car pulled away moments later. Sarah cleared his plate and picked up the bills. 3 20s for a $14 meal. She started to call after him. Surely he'd made a mistake, but he was already gone. That's when she saw it. The envelope, tucked partially under the plate, her name written on it in careful handwriting, Sarah. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter written on expensive stationery, and a check that made her gasp so loudly that Pete came out from the kitchen. "You okay?" he asked. Sarah couldn't speak. She handed him the check, $50,000, made out to her. Holy... Pete caught himself, glancing at Emma. Is this real? Sarah's eyes were on the letter. She read it once, then again, tears blurring the words. "Dear Sarah, forgive the presumption of this gesture. I've spent my life building a company, making money, thinking that success was measured in quarterly earnings and stock prices. I was wrong about what mattered. I had a daughter once. Her name was Grace. She had blonde hair like your Emma, and the same fearless smile. I was too busy to notice, too important to take time off, too focused on the next deal. When she was 7, she got sick, leukemia. I threw money at the problem, the best doctors, the best hospitals, but I never just sat with her, never colored with her, never made her pancakes. She died when she was 9. That was 17 years ago. My wife left me a year later. She said I'd already left long before that, and she was right. This morning I was driving to close another deal, another acquisition, just another Tuesday. But I saw your diner and something made me stop. Maybe I was hungry. Maybe I was tired. Maybe God still tries to teach old fools new lessons. Then I saw you with your daughter. The way you looked at her, even while you were working. The way she felt safe, enough to wander over to a stranger, because she knew you were watching. The way you're doing it right. The thing I failed at so completely. This money comes from the sale of my first company. The one I started in my 20s before I forgot what mattered. I've kept it separate from everything else, thinking I'd find the right use for it someday. Today I found it. Use it however you need. Pay bills, go to school, spend more time with Emma, or save it for her future. Just promise me one thing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being present. Keep showing up. Keep loving her the way I didn't love Grace. You'll never see me again, and that's as it should be. This isn't about credit or recognition. It's about trying to balance a scale that can never truly be balanced. If I can help one little girl have her mother truly present for her childhood, maybe that means something. The money comes with no strings, no expectations, no conditions. It's yours freely given. Thank you for your kindness to a stranger. Thank you for letting me see what I lost. And thank you for giving me a glimpse of what might have been if I'd made different choices. With respect and gratitude, Robert Mitchell. Sarah sat down heavily in the nearest booth, the letter shaking in her hands. Pete read over her shoulder, his eyes widening. "Sarah," he said softly, "this is real. This is actually real." Emma wandered over, sensing something important was happening. "Mama, why are you crying?" Sarah pulled her daughter into her arms, holding her tight. "Because sometimes," she said, her voice breaking, "sometimes people are so kind it hurts." "In the good way." "The man?" Emma asked. "Yes, baby. The man. He was sad," Emma observed with the simple clarity of childhood. "I could see it." "Yes," Sarah whispered. "He was very sad. But maybe he's a little less sad now." The next days passed in a blur of disbelief and verification. The check was real. The bank confirmed it. A lawyer called to ensure Sarah had received it and to confirm there were no legal strings attached. Robert Mitchell was indeed a wealthy businessman who had sold his tech company years ago. The lawyer's voice was professional but warm when she said, "Mr. Mitchell asked me to tell you that this was the best investment he's ever made." Sarah found herself sitting up late at night, after Emma was asleep, thinking about the man at the counter, about his tired eyes and the way he'd watched Emma color, about the weight of regret that must follow a person year after year. When they've lost something, they can never get back. She thought about choices, about presence, about the difference between existing in the same space as someone and truly being with them. She thought about how easy it was to miss what mattered while chasing what didn't. The money changed everything practical in Sarah's life. She could afford a reliable car now. She could fix the leak in her apartment ceiling. She could put Emma in a better preschool, save for college, maybe even go back to school herself. The weight of constant worry about making rent, about one broken down car ending everything, lifted from her shoulders. But what changed even more was what the money represented. A man she'd never met had looked at her life and seen value in what she was doing, not in spite of her struggling, but because of how she struggled with grace. He'd seen her being a mother and recognized something he'd lost, something precious that couldn't be bought or negotiated or acquired through any business deal. 3 months later, on another Tuesday morning, Sarah was wiping down that same counter. Emma was at her new preschool now, giving Sarah her mornings back. But she'd kept this shift at Miller's Diner. Pete had offered to make her manager, but she'd said no. She liked the work. She liked the people. She liked the reminder that life happens in small moments. A cup of coffee poured just right. A kind word to a regular customer. A shared smile with the stranger. She'd also done something else. With some of the money, she'd started a small fund at the local community center, offering scholarships to single parents who wanted to go back to school but couldn't afford childcare. She called it Grace's Hope. When people asked about the name, she told them about a little girl she'd never met, and a father who learned what mattered too late, and how sometimes the greatest gifts come from the deepest losses. She didn't know if Robert Mitchell would ever know about that. She had no way to reach him, no address, no phone number. He'd disappeared as completely as he'd appeared. But she hoped somehow that maybe it would matter, that maybe grace could ripple forward even from grief. As she poured coffee for the morning regulars, Sarah thought about the envelope under the plate. She thought about how you never know which moment might change everything. How a tired businessman might walk into a small-town diner and see something that breaks his heart and heals it at the same time. How a single mother working double shifts might represent someone else's deepest regret and greatest hope. She thought about Emma, safe and happy at preschool, learning and growing. And she thought about being present, truly present for all of it. Not because a stranger gave her money, but because a stranger reminded her of something she already knew. That time was the one thing you could never get back, and love was the only investment that truly mattered. The door chimed. A young family came in, a father carrying a toddler on his shoulders. Sarah grabbed her order pad and smiled. "Good morning," she said warmly. "Sit anywhere you'd like." And life in all its beautiful ordinary moments continued. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, I'd be grateful if you'd hit that like button and share it with someone who might need this message today. Please subscribe to hear more stories about kindness, second chances, and the moments that change us. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever been surprised by an unexpected act of kindness? What moment changed your life? Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, remember, the most valuable things we give each other can't be measured in dollars, but in presence, in attention, in love.